Hey y'all, Lance from Permanent Records here. It's been a while since I've done a video for YouTube, and there's a good reason for that. For the last 8 weeks or so, I've been out of town, about 4 of those weeks on record buying trips. We've been to New York, Austin, Texas. We've been to Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh, of course. And then we've also been to Den Bosch in the Netherlands. Um, the Den Bosch Record Fair is the largest record fair on the planet. And if you've never been and you live in Europe, you have absolutely no excuse not to go. It's a mind-blowing assortment of dealers from all over the world coming there with some of the rarest records you can imagine. And it's the most mind-blowing experience you could ever possibly have as a record buyer over one weekend. Anyway, those records are en route and or have landed in LA and will be going through the shop in the near future if they haven't already. So keep an eye out for that. You can follow us obviously on Instagram and Facebook to keep an eye out on the things that we have going on at the shop and at the Roadhouse, of course, where we host 2 shows a night, have a full line liquor license, and serve cocktails, beer, wine, and non-alcoholic beverages Wednesday through Sunday from 6 p.m. to midnight. The record store behind the Roadhouse is open from noon until midnight, Wednesday through Sunday, and there's recent arrivals going through the bins daily. Usually 60 to 100 fresh used records, and it's all quality stuff. Almost everything that we handle is worth $10 or more. Some of the records that we handle are 3 and 4 figures. So follow us on Instagram at Permanent Records LA. If you want to know more about the venue side of things, you can follow us at Permanent Records Roadhouse. Also, you'll want to subscribe to this YouTube channel because I plan on putting up a whole lot more videos with more information about what we have going on at Permanent, but also more information on how we got started and what it's like to own a record store, what it's like to run a record store. Some advice from me. I've been a record store owner for 17 years. I've had multiple locations at different times in different cities. I've done all sorts of different things with a label and music licensing, music supervision. I've been in bands, of course, and so forth. So I'm gonna put up more YouTube videos in 2024 than we did in 2023. And hopefully the quality and quantity will just improve over time. I wanted to spend a little time in this video just kind of showcasing some of just one crate of about 60 or so records that we got in recently that we posted for sale on Instagram tonight, which maybe not tonight for you if you're not watching this on December 2nd, 2023. But that said, you could get a good idea of the kind of mix of things that we get in the shop on a regular basis and the kind of stuff that we handle most regularly. That said, I'm also going to, at the end of this video, showcase a few records from my personal collection. I have LPs. I do collect them, obviously, but I am primarily a 45 collector. And in 2024, I will do some more videos of my personal collection of 45s as well. My 45 collection consists primarily of hard rock, heavy psych, and proto metal from the late 60s and early 70s. And it's mostly things that I have comped on brown acid or scrap metal or are similar to that and unlicensable for one reason or another. And we'll get into that in another video. But anyway, without further ado, I'm just gonna rip through a whole bunch of records real quick, just kind of showing you what kind of a cross-section of the used records that you can find on our Instagram and in the shop at the Roadhouse. So first and foremost, we got a used OG European pressing of Jurassic 5 Quality Control. If you're into socially conscious hip hop, that record is incredible. I hadn't listened to it in a while. I listened to it a lot in college. I was in college from 2000 to 2004, and that record was in heavy rotation. I kind of stepped away from it for many years and because I kind of burnt myself out on it in those days, and I revisited it recently when that one came in, and I was kind of blown away by how well it has stood the test of time. I would venture to say that it's a modern hip hop classic. It features DJ Newmark, Cut Chemist, um, and the MCs are all incredible as well. Yeah, I mean, most people know what Quality Control sounds like, but if you haven't heard Jurassic 5, that's a great record to start with, and it's an awesome album all the way through. We got a reissue of the Alice in Chains self-titled album in recently, unofficial colored vinyl. We got Electric Warrior, one of the best glam records of all time. I never get sick of listening to T-Rex. We got Gladiators, some reggae reissues have come in the shop recently. A little krautrock, always a fair amount of krautrock coming through the shop. We do go to Europe to buy records, and we buy from a lot of German dealers there and get as much krautrock as we possibly can. You gotta love you some Sylvester. That's fucking great dance music. We play it at the Roadhouse all the time. Also, if shout out to I'd Buy That for $1 podcast. That particular podcast, I'll leave this can record up while I talk about I'd Buy That for $1. This record is not $1. But that said, those guys at I'd Buy That for $1 do a great job on their podcast of featuring inexpensive records that are better than you would think they are based on how common and cheap they are. And they do a really deep dive on each album. They usually have a guest. I've been honored to be a guest a couple of times on the podcast. So I guess it's kind of shameless self-promotion, but I really don't have anything to do with that aside from being a fan and guesting whenever they offer to have me. So yeah, you can listen to the podcast on Spotify and all the other various places where you can listen to podcasts. Okay, so another can record, of course, a little late era. We always have at least a few original can records in the shop, as well as a fair amount of krautrock. Janet Jackson Control, classic contemporary R&B, never-ending flow of Beatles, Herbie Hancock. We got a colored vinyl Run the Jewels reissue. I think that one's Vinyl Me Please. Little Fusion. There's a few different Weather Report records in this lot. Gabor Szabo on Impulse. You really can't go wrong with anything on the Impulse label, and it's getting more and more expensive by the day. You got Queen, The Game, classic. A little more Weather Report. A brown acid staple right here. If you don't already have Blue Cheer's Vencebus Eruptum, this is where it all began. This is where heavy metal began. It's either, depending on who you ask, Blue Cheer or Black Sabbath that were the progenitors of heavy metal, a couple of them anyway. And that album's an absolute heavy psych classic. We got Rumors. You can't ever have enough copies of Rumors. Y'all dig on some New Orleans funk. This is some Bayou funk, like swamp rock type stuff. Super, a little psychedelic with the Gree from Dr. John. Love that album. Can't go wrong with some Zeppelin. Again, you got Beatles Revolver. That copy is especially clean. You get a little Ozzy solo. You got a little more Dr. John. We got Bjork Greatest Hits reissue in the mix. Little Hawaiian Private Press Lounge with Society of Seven. Some Cal Tjader for the Latin jazz folks out there. We got The Doors, Morrison Hotel, featuring the track Roadhouse Blues. This record is so underrated. If you like country rock and southern rock, this thing is going to be up your alley. Those of you who collect heavy Psych 45s, or heavy 45s in general, will recognize the name Jerry Williams. He has a major label 45 called Crazy About You Baby, and I think that's the B-side of his 45. Anyway, Jerry Williams, in High Mountain Hoedown. This is a totally different vibe. Killer rural rock stuff. We got Redheaded Stranger by Willie. Gotta have a little novelty Chipmunk Punk in the mix. Classic Crosby, Stills, and Nash. No Young on this one, but every track on that album is classic. That's one of the albums that gets referenced by almost everyone who contributed to Acid Archives as being one of their favorite albums. You got Best of Herbie Hancock double LP on Blue Note. Little Lemonator by ZZ Top. Gotta love ZZ Top, right? We got Elton John, Honky Chateau. Rolling Stones, Beggar's Banquet. We got a little Brian Eno flexi disc in the mix that I found tucked inside of this copy of Before and After Science. We got the best of Lou Reed. Everybody loves Lou, right? You got Hunky Dory with Fascination ad insert. That's fun. A Lad Insane. Talking Heads. This record is undeniably great. Brian Eno produced that one. Well, I think Once in a Lifetime is one of the most psychedelic pop songs of all time, and it's not even categorized as psych. Listen to that thing in headphones sometimes, and your mind will be totally blown. We got One Nation Under a Groove still sealed with that beautiful hype sticker right there. It's hard enough to find a clean copy of that record, much less a sealed one. Just unbelievable to have found a sealed copy of that. Speaking of country rock, this is cosmic American music at its finest. This is the Byrds' Sweetheart of the Rodeo, of course. And, you know, if you dig Graham Parsons, you know all about the importance of that album. Speaking of kraut rock, we got some Kraftwerk, classic Autobahn album. Their breakthrough. This is Tom Waits, Blue Valentine. Tom Waits is so great. You got Judas Priest, hell yeah, Stained, Class, and British Steel. You got another underrated country rock record by the Cates Gang here. This one's called Come Back Home, and this is a white label promo. Speaking of the Beatles, you got a UKOG Yellow Submarine with the flip back. Boom, boom. A little Back in Black. Can never get sick of that. Here's an odd one. We got a Motown Sound Research, or Motown Sound Systems Research and Sound LP. This is like a demo, a turntable demo record. Promo only. A little McCoy Tyner. Love me some McCoy. I got a little R&B in the mix by Change. Some post-punk by Pere Ubu. Gotta love Pere Ubu. I won't take this out of the poly bag. That's In Through the Outdoor, obviously, by Led Zeppelin. Little Pierre Henry. This is a great record. If you don't have it, lots of synth and crazy percussion on that thing. DJs love that stuff. This is the classic Dreamboat Annie by Heart. Nobody talks about Heart, but Heart was so good. You got Crazy on You on this album, and man, these gals just fucking rock. Any Steely Dan fans out there? We got Donald Fagen's The Nightfly. Used to be a cheap record, is not cheap anymore. We got some modern stuff. We got a fair amount of modern records secondhand as well. This is called Gem Club. If you dig some West African blues stuff, I cannot pronounce this dude's name, but for fans of Ali Farka Touré and more modern stuff like Tanarowin, you got to check that out. Group Bombino, etc. You got some Houses of the Holy right there. This is something that I am not familiar with, and it's got what looks like Russian text on there, so I can't help you with that one. Bang! Hard rock fans know all about this thing. This is an epic stunner of a major label hard rock album. If you don't have this bang record, run, don't walk to your local record store, or go check out our Instagram right now and see if this one hasn't been claimed yet, because this album rips. So heavy. Not heavy, super funky, psychedelic funk. Black rock, as it's known. I don't know if I feel super comfortable using that term, but um, there's a very, very famous, or I guess known in collector circle compilation called Chains in Black Exhaust that Dante Carfagna curated. Um, I want to say back in the late 90s, maybe even mid 90s, but it's been a while. Came out on CD only. Anyway, this picks up where that left off, maybe even includes a track or two from that comp. Not the whole of Chains in Black Exhaust, but this is some dirty, raw, psychedelic funk. All African American dudes just getting down in a fuzzy rock way. Gotta love you some TSU Tornadoes. That's some, Kashmir stage band type college funk shit. You got Hank Crawford, Lil Sun, colored vinyl. You know, the Sun fans love those colored vinyl variants. And last but not least, little Eddie Harris, underrated jazz dude, and our boy Bob. Robert Zimmerman. So yeah, that's one crate. That's about one night's worth of posts on Instagram. Come check us out. Those records were all posted this evening, and some of them have probably already been claimed, and some of them have probably not. If they have not been claimed, feel free to just comment your dibs in the post, and we will reach out to you via DM with payment instructions. It's a super easy process, and once you've done it once, it's super even easier. You can pay via Venmo or PayPal, etc. Anyway, come check us out on Instagram, and you'll see exactly what we got going on. I'm going a little long here, but I will spend the last minute or two just showing a couple of records from my personal collection that have been reissued recently. First and foremost, we got Survivors, All Your Pretty Moves. This is a killer. This is a stunning Private Press hard rock album that owes a ton to Thin Lizzy. These guys were Thin Lizzy fans. Obviously, the debt owed to Thin Lizzy by Survivor is incalculable. And anyway, this record, this is the OG. I think it's like $600 or something these days. Well, it just got reissued by Rockadrome, so you can get a $24 copy from us. Sounds great. It's not the original, but good luck finding a clean original anywhere. Another one that Rockadrome and Lion Productions teamed up on the reissue for is St. Anthony's Fire. This thing is a stunner. It's another early 70s hard rock classic. This is more in the vein of high energy rock and roll like the Stooges and MC5. It's not garagey, it's heavier than the MC5, but it is not like it's not like it's not doomy like Randy Holden Population 2, but it's killer all the way through. My copy has this incredible press kit with a letter from the band's manager back in the day. Maybe one of these days I'll show off this whole press kit. It's got Xerox copies of show flyers and band photos and stuff. But anyway, the reissue of this, also available for just 24 bucks in the shop. I can't recommend this record highly enough. It's fantastic all the way through. If you like 70s Private Press, especially 70s hard rock, this record probably already exists in your collection, and if it doesn't, it must. All right, last but not least, we have Mammoth. So I may have alluded in the past to my recent infatuation with Private Press Southern rock records. Well, this is the first one that Daniel at Riding Easy Records and I have teamed up on reissuing. Right now, as of today, or maybe yesterday, you can stream the Mammoth LP from start to finish for the first time ever on Spotify and all the other digital streaming platforms. Mammoth are just like a quintessential Southern rock band. There's stuff on here that sounds like Skinner. There's stuff on here that sounds like the Allman Brothers. But these guys are pretty hard. You generally, whipping post or harder style almonds. But yeah, whether you like Southern rock or not, if you like hard rock and roll, if you like the tough stuff, you'll dig Mammoth. I mean, how could you not with an album cover that looks like this? Currently, this is an OG. Currently, we've only reissued this digitally, so you can find it on Bandcamp and all the other digital streaming platforms, as I mentioned. But there will be a vinyl reissue coming in 2024. So stand by for that. Stand by for everything else that we have going on in 2024. There is a lot of stuff in the works. A ton of crazy reissues. We're going to start the year off with the Fraction Moonblood. Daniel and I worked on that one together, and then we're going to take it from there, and we got some mind-blowing stuff lined up for y'all. So please stay tuned, stay in touch. Comment below if you have any questions on what we got going on at Permanent. And yeah, stay tuned. As I said, I'll leave you with this, with the copies of the Mammoth record that I was able to buy from the band, and I did buy the last of them. I got these crazy bumper stickers. Isn't that sick? Hell yeah. Anyway, yeah, like I said, go check out the Mammoth record on Spotify. And yeah, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, etc. I'll see you again in the new year. Cheers.